Developing .NET applications for Apple is a never-ending fight. And recently there were two interconnected problems. Number one, a problem where Visual Studio failed to connect to the Mac with an IDB error, and fixing this problem then led to a new problem where software updates were required. And in this video, which I'm filming on the 13th of December 2024, I'm showing you a number of steps which make the system work again for me. As always with Apple, please like and subscribe, because thanks to one of my clients, I regularly work for Apple and I regularly make these videos explaining the problem. So probably in 3 months they will have found a new problem. But as of now, this works. The most important thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you've got Preview 2.0. I've been testing with Preview 1.0 in the past, and I often got errors claiming IDB connection error and this and that. So, as always, use the Visual Studio Community Preview and make sure that you are using the very latest version, as you see here on the screen. And as you see here, this is green, so the connection between the Windows workstation and the Apple compile servant is goodly established. And then you can start the first compilation and you get the next error, which is this one, which you see here. And this requires a bit of work. The first thing which we can try is, we go here into the settings and then we look for linker, and here we go into linker behavior, and we see that normally debug for .NET iOS is set to not connect. And now we go here and we say that both debug and release should only link to the framework SDK. And now we can take another attempt at compiling the thing, as you see here. And then we see that it still doesn't work. So we go back here to not connect, try to run it again, and then we will get the old error. So, to achieve a longer term fix, in the first step we go here into the settings, general storage, and we check the amount of memory. And usually such a Mac, when it is working for a bit of time, as you see here, it runs out of memory. So you go into the terminal and in the first step, you make sudo shutdown -r now, push enter, enter your password, and then the computer will restart. And now we are back here. We go again into general storage and we see a bit of storage was freed up. But now the next step is that we need to update the Xcode. And for this, it is usually of course recommended to first perform here software update to check if you can install any updates. And we see here that my machine is offered an update to Sequoia 15.2. So we are gonna do that in the first step, which will incidentally take about 20 or 30 or 40 minutes, so you never know. But as always with Apple, everything takes time. And sometimes you get such an error here. The Mac does not have enough free memory to update. And if you use this machine purely as a compile servant, The answer for this is here in the developer section. And you go here, you click developer, and then first things first, you of course remove the cache. That gets a bit of memory. And then you can delete some old SDKs here, which you don't think you will ever need again. For example, I don't think I will ever need 15.7.7 again. So I'm gonna delete that. And then I'm also going to delete this thing here. And as you can see in the background during the live update, we already have a lot of additional memory. And yes, to scroll this, you need to use the up and down on your keyboard, as you see here. And at this point, we can then return here. Again, software update. We can order another software update. And now it will download and deploy successfully. One extremely neat thing is, as you see here, during most parts of the operating system update, the VNC connection remains active, so you can use that to monitor the progress of your computer. After the update, it's time for the usual Apple security charade. I always keep getting the password slightly wrong, so we have to sign into the Apple account again. And no, I don't want to use the keychain now. I don't want to use File Vault because that costs even more performance on an old machine. Yes, welcome to Mac. And here I am back. And now we can go again here into storage. And we see that when we've installed the mandatory update, we've got much more free memory. And yes, here we go again. But we see there are now less updates here. There's only the command line tools for Xcode. And we're gonna update these, of course. And when the updates are here, we click here the Xcode symbol. And now we see, charmingly, it is blocked and it chases us into the App Store. And this here is the best possible thing, because then we just go here, we mesh update, and then we just have to wait a little bit, as always, for the download and a longer bit for the extraction of the files on the machine. And here we see it complains about the edit expansions, but that's not so important. What's important is to click open a few times and try to start the Xcode environment. And we see it is dancing here at the bottom, so this means it will take a little bit of time. If we click it, then we get this. We have to agree, of course, and we need to give the system the admin privileges. And here we see that it allows us to download the SDKs, and we of course need the iOS 18.2 SDK, so we click download and install, and then it's time for the usual download, which again is very quick, and the actual installation, which is kind of slow. And then after some time we see here it starts up with the welcome to Xcode blah 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 screen. Here in the background it's downloading the iOS simulator. We can still open the old victim project. The next step then is that we go here and we of course need to reconnect the iPhone to the Mac because I had it disconnected for a little while. Then we must again click here to establish the connection with the machine. And we see here it does do quite a few updates. So given that my Mac, my compile servant is relatively slow, the process will take a bit of time. And now it says successfully connected. We mesh OK. We see here the green background. We see Tom's iPhone was detected. Now we can again click Tom's iPhone. And then we get another complaint here about the simulator runtime version. And if we go here, we see, oh, the simulator download has not yet finished, so we have to wait a little bit more. And here we see that now the simulator download has completed. And this means time to go back here and take another shot. Incidentally, we see it's still doing something. So that's strange. Or actually not so strange, because as we see here in the activity monitor, the machine is completely, fully 100% loaded. So it's probably time to take a little wait here. And incidentally, after what has been like an epic wait, we see that now the optimization steps in the linker are starting. So it's obviously the machine is doing something. And here we see Bereitstellung gestartet. So now it's trying to deploy the compiled file. And then here we get another error where it's complaining about entitlements for the profiles. And this has to do probably with the profile configuration. What is actually important for me here is not even to debug, because that would require changing the settings, but instead it's to publish a new version to test flight. And we see here it's now creating a bundle. This is the last bundle which we used. And now we are compiling a new bundle, which of course takes a bit of time, as the switch from the release to from the debug to the release configuration requires time. And yes, you can accelerate this if you go here and you disable the real-time protection, because otherwise 80% of the Windows resources are invested into the virus scan and only 20% into the actual compile. And then we see here this symbol, successful packaging, and now we can start distributing it either like so, or using the various methods which we know from other videos. So in principle, this box is now by and large closed again, at least for now. And yes, of course, I advise that any and all of your apps which are in test flight, when you have it working again like so, that you immediately update all of them. And here we get the message, it has been successfully published. So now we go back to our Apple. This game we also know. We go here into the test flight. We start out with our internal crew. Here we see the build is being processed. So basically this is just how the box then will get closed. And yes, with this, another episode of the never-ending fight developer versus Apple has ended. And I hope that this has been useful for you and that maybe the gods of Apple will leave us alone, at least over Christmas and New Year, and maybe until Pentecost or something. I mean, I don't believe it, but at least I hope. So, with that, I wish you strong nerves and see you soon.